Welcome back to Expresso live on SABC3. It's 10 to 7 right now, your time for your finances. We're talking about different stages of your life and how to plan accordingly, and who else to ask about that kind of financial advice than our own man, Mr. Warren Wilkinson. So how are you?
Katlego, good in yourself.
Always good to have you here.
Excellent.
So yesterday we looked at the beginning stages where essentially you have to form those kind of habits that will assist you later on in life, looking at the teens, and right now to where I am at 25, not wanting to get any older.
Yes.
Who are we looking at today?
Great. We're moving into the area of the busy part of our lives, which is 25 to about 50 odd.
Okay.
Got a bit of a busy slide here this morning. But the purpose of showing you this is ultimately what the perfect portfolio is going to look like.
Wow.
Okay. If you look below the line, this is typically the foundational issues that you want to address in your portfolio. The first and most important thing typically is to make sure that you have sufficient medical cover. And relating to that is sufficient gap cover, because you've got certain specialists that charge 400% of the National Reference Health Price listing.
Yes, we spoke about that yesterday, actually.
Yes.
That's
so very important. That's something we'll deal with in coming weeks, is just what is the relevance of gap cover relating to medical aid. The second most important thing to deal with in your estate is protecting your income stream. Because if you get sick or disabled, which is completely out of your control, how are you going to protect your income stream? Because you are the asset earning that income. So consider how you're supposed to budget when you have no income, if you get sick or disabled. And statistics are showing more that people are more sort of temporarily disabled for up to sort of 2 to 3 years at maximum rather than long term because of medical advances.
Okay, yeah.
The third aspect to make sure of in terms of the foundation in your portfolio is to have sufficient dread disease cover and sufficient life cover, because at the end of the day, again, these are unknowns that you have to plan for. They're completely out of your control. If one then moves into the top part, and just for the sake of time, we may not be able to touch on everything, but to go straight onto the top part, the very next thing after you've got those sort of 4 cornerstones or 5 cornerstones in place is to look at putting a lift in your building, and that is your retirement plan, because the earlier you start with that, the better.
Yeah, true that. Very true.
So that you can actually benefit from the compounding. And then from there on, you want to develop a medium-term and a short-term investment strategy so that you can be able to cater for those emergencies, the unknown events that happen in your life, and also the medium-term planning for holidays, planning for children's education, etc. Other issues that you want to then deal with as you go along is when you start looking at getting married, it's making sure that the type of marital regime that you want to deal with is important to consider.
All right.
In or out of community or property.
Always a very important thing to decide.
And if it's out of community or property, do you do it with or without the accrual system? So the issue relating...
if we just stop there. The accrual system, I know in community property, everything is together.
Yes.
Out of community, not together. Accrual system?
Accrual system is really, again, also separate before you get to the marriage, and while you're in the marriage, the accrual system regulates, the equitable share between the parties in the marriage. So if the husband was the breadwinner and he's got a 5 million rand estate and he divorces his wife, and his wife sits with no assets, well, she will share in half of his 5 million.
We should dissect this tomorrow in our talk. Have a bit of a... Yeah, okay, ooh, wow. I don't want to get married anymore now. Just kidding, babe. Okay.
But there are a lot of other aspects. As you can see, there are things like intellectual property management and getting involved in business, and we'll deal next week with asset structuring. In other words, when you get involved in business and intellectual property management and royalty incomes, where must those assets be held? In your name or in a trust or in a company? There's also issues in the risk or in the foundation of your building, something like insolvency protection. Yeah. Making sure that if you go through the deep waters of insolvency, that you don't lose all your assets.
Very, very deep waters that you don't want to taste. So thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
A very brief overview into what we'll be going into in the next couple of weeks. As you can see, managing your finances is a lot more than just going to the bank and drawing and depositing money. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, but woo! Right, let's move on with today's show. We've got Dieter Voogd, who's also here with us, and Liesel is sitting down to chat to him right now.